What's up, softball players? Coach Dan Blewett here. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can make yourself more recruitable for colleges. So obviously the recruiting process is a really confusing, scary process. It gives people tons of anxiety. It's just like, why did that player get recruited? Why are they signed and I'm not yet? It's really hard. And it's getting more complex than ever. Coaches have more choices of players than ever. So you have to do a lot to kind of help yourself stand out. So in today's video, let's give you some recruiting tips for softball, some things that the softball player can easily accomplish that are controllable for you, for your family, and that will make a big difference in your college recruiting process. Okay, so number one, let's get an easy one out of the way first. Number one is have an excellent family reputation amongst coaches everywhere. What this means, players, when people ask like, what kind of person is she? Does she hustle? Is she a good teammate? All those boxes need to be checked. You need to hustle on and off the field. You need to cheer for your teammates even when you play terrible. And you need to be respectful of your coaches. If you're that player that when things don't go your way or maybe get pulled from a game early and you backtalk your coaches or you give them the stink eye, that is going to get around. Because if I'm a college coach, and for me as a former academy owner, coaches called me all the time and they asked a lot of good questions. They really dug and they tried to see if they could like get something out of me that maybe I didn't want to divulge. So they're going to dig and figure out if you're the person that when things don't go well, you're a bad teammate, you sort of slow down and stop hustling, or you start to really make it hard on your coaches. Parents, it's the same thing for you. If you are the psycho dad in the bleachers, everyone knows about it already. I promise you that. If you're giving coaches a hard time, moms and dads, everyone's going to know about it. And the college coaches are going to know about it. And a lot of them are going to pass on your kid. And you're not even going to know that this is happening, but it's happening in the background. It's happening for you right now. It's happened for many of you who are watching this video, I guarantee it. So if that's the case, start fresh today. Cheer for your daughters in the stands. Be supportive of the team, even when decisions are made that are maybe a little bit suspect. Coaches aren't perfect. And it's just a tough thing coaching young athletes in general. Coaching is a difficult profession. It's low paid. It's high hours. These coaches have to deal with a lot of parents and they have to deal with kids, and they're trying to help them all on this journey to reach their goals. It's not easy. So my recommendation is to be a really good communicator. Always give the benefit of the doubt. Be kind before you start calling people out and starting to raise a fuss in the bleachers, because that's only going to cause problems for your daughter in the future. So as a family, this is the player and the family, the parents, everybody. You're all in it together. And if any of you are producing a bad reputation for conduct, for hustle, for coachability, it's going to come back to hurt you in a big way. So talk about this as a family. Explain expectations. So if you're a player and your parents aren't watching this video, sit down with them. Have them watch my video and talk about your conduct. Everybody needs to be on the same page so that when someone calls and says, "How is Christy Johnson?" everyone raves about her. Parents get it. She's a hustler. She's a great teammate, super coachable. She's the kind of kid that you want on your team. That's what you want a coach to say for you when the college coaches start calling. The number two way to make yourself more recruitable is use social media to your advantage. Obviously, if you are doing, sketchy stuff on social media, and kids have to be really careful about it. If you're posting videos of you out partying or swearing or just doing anything sort of unsavory, that's going to get you crossed off a recruiting list really fast. On the contrary, just kind of think about it as like a billboard for the good qualities that you have. Make it more of almost like a business Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. Post lots of videos of you working hard. Post videos of like motivational stuff. Make your image reflect the best parts of you, okay? And that's an easy thing to do because all these social media platforms, they're not who we are. They're reflections of pieces of us, right? So when you see this one Instagram influencer's account, you're seeing just a tiny snapshot of their life that they're curating for you. They're showing you the best moments, right? When they're dressed the most stylishly, or they're on vacation, or they're at a super cool like sporting event or music venue, or whatever it is. They're showing you the best. You can do the same thing too. Show off your work ethic. Show all of the good things when you're hustling, being a good teammate. Show that you have a passion for the game. Use social media to your advantage. So there's always two ways to phrase it. A lot of coaches are like, hey, don't let social media, screw you over if you do the wrong stuff. If you're, doing unsavory things, coaches are going to cross you off your list. And that's true. And I talked about that in a baseball version of this same sort of video. But you can also use it in a positive light. Use it to be a billboard that you're an awesome kid that college coaches want on their team. That's a great way to use social media. Number 3, so this tactic to make yourself more recruitable for college softball is send a lot of emails. So as a player, you should be the one contacting colleges. So if you want to go to the University of Iowa or University of Southern California or the University of Florida, you personally, the player, should be sending emails to those teams. Send them videos, send them stats, send them coaches who they can contact, express interest in their program, show that you've done your homework about their program. And that means like, hey, I love the University of Florida because yeah, you have a winning culture and you have a great team and great coaches, but I also know that you have good majors. I'm really interested in psychology or computer science or whatever it is, and I feel like it'd be a really good fit for me. That's a really grown-up, great way to express interest in a program, not just as the softball program, because we know, like Florida, University of Florida, University of Oklahoma, they know that you want to go there and play softball there, right? But they also want kids who are going to be good student athletes who are just engaged in the culture of college. Like that's the big thing. Like it's not just softball, it's also the whole experience. Do you really want to be a Florida Gator, or do you really want to be a University of South Carolina Trojan, whatever it is? Like tell them that you really want to wear their jersey, not just be at the best softball program, because there's a lot of good softball programs. So you send the emails yourself, players. Don't let your parents ever email a college coach on your behalf. You need to do it because you're going to be viewed as a grown-up in college, and so it's important to start treating yourself that way and just showing that you're independent and that you can look adults in the eye and that you can form your sentences well and express that you have a desire to play at that level. So the more you start sending these emails out and the more proactive you are, casting a bigger net, you're going to get more and more comfortable doing it, because the fear of rejection is very real. It's scary. It happens for everyone. And you're also going to get practice doing it, and that's important. So the more you start communicating with coaches, you'll get some replies back. A lot of times you won't, but it's going to still keep helping you feel more at ease at getting comfortable, putting yourself out there, and interacting with colleges. So tip number 3 is definitely start casting a wide net, email your coaches yourself, and just start getting your feet wet in that process. All right, so tip number 4 to make yourself more recruitable is be really good at 1 or 2 positions. And here's my thing. There's a lot of different ways to think about this, so I'm going to talk about the counter argument as well. Being really versatile is also great if you're the kind of athlete that can maybe play any outfield position and really play an infield position well. That is great. Being versatile is great, but at the really high levels of softball, they're not recruiting a player who can play. They don't need somebody who can play short and play right. They don't need someone who can play left and play third base. Typically, they need a third baseman. Typically, they need a second baseman. Typically, they need a first baseman who hits bombs and hits tons of doubles, right? Now, again, versatility can be really, really important. So I'm not going to say there's one way to do it, but here's where players often get in trouble. When in a weekend where they play 5 games, they play third 1 game, they pitch 2 games, they catch 1 game, and they play right 1 game. It becomes hard because, number one, say one college shows up on Friday and they see you play third. Another college shows up on Saturday and they want to see you play third, but you're playing center. And then another college shows up on Sunday and they want to see you play center, but you're catching. It becomes really hard for coaches to see you doing your thing, and it also becomes hard for you to be really good at one position. So again, this is never a set in stone thing where I'm saying, hey, only play one position when you're a freshman. Like, I wouldn't say that. But at some point, you need to start narrowing down your choices, so when colleges do come out to watch your team, they're always going to see you maybe in the infield, or they're maybe always going to see you in the outfield, or they're going to see you catch 3 games in a weekend or 4 games in a weekend, or if you're going to be a pitcher in college, that you pitch a lot. So it can be a really tough thing, and we've seen this at many different times in my academy where a player is just playing so many different positions, and colleges don't really know what to do with them, and they don't really necessarily build the highest level skills of those positions. So maybe they're like a pretty okay third baseman and they're an okay right fielder, but they're not great at either. But maybe if they played a whole season at third base, they'd get really good at it. So that's a more complex topic for you, for your coaches, to say, like, where do I fit in? Where am I going to play in college? Right? And if you look at a big D1 school, you're going to see body types at each position. At first base, you're going to see players who can really hit the ball with a lot of power, who are probably bigger bodied, who probably don't move as well, who probably don't have great arm strength. That's sort of like the prototypical first baseman in both baseball and softball. And so if you could play first and fit those characteristics, they don't need you to play third base. If you're a shortstop, it's okay that you hit left for less power because they need someone who's got an excellent range, excellent hands, excellent arm across the diamond to get outs, because shortstop is a critical position. And if you don't quite have that amazing range and amazing glove work, but you're still pretty darn good, then maybe you can play third base. Maybe you can play second base. If you've got incredible speed and incredible outfield instincts and great range, you might be a center fielder. And if you're not quite as good to play center field, maybe play one of the corners. But the corner outfielders tend to hit more than the center fielders. So positions, players really get groomed for a position based on their skills, but we can sometimes fall into a trap when we're playing too many positions when it really comes down to crunch time for recruiting. Because again, coaches need to see you at your best. And if you're always giving a little bit of time at a ton of positions, that could be a really positive thing for one school perhaps, but the bigger levels especially, they're not looking to put a player who can play short also in center field. That's really not going to happen. They start to recruit more by position, and they also need to see players with really high skills at each of those positions. So again, this isn't like one way or the other because it's always going to be different. And we've had in my academy, players go on to be sort of utility players in college, but that's a little more rare, and it can also make it a little more difficult for you in the recruiting process. So just something to think about without any necessarily like guidance one way or the other, but really think about what positions you're good at and what you might be the most effective at for some college program at the next level. And my last tip, and this is going to be sort of piggybacking off like the main concepts of my YouTube channel, because my YouTube channel is predominantly about throwing, right? I'm a former baseball pitcher. I work with tons of softball players on their throwing. And so there's tons of softball content for overhand throwing on my channel. Now, here's the thing with throwing. If you don't spend enough time with your overhand throwing, it limits the positions that you can play in college, and it limits your recruitability for different positions. High school to college is a really big jump in athleticism and in the speed of the game. So if you're a shortstop at the high school level and your arm is average for the high school level, when you get to college, you might not be good enough to play shortstop anymore, because when girls are a couple tenths of a second faster and your arm's not quite pumping the ball down there, they're going to start to beat out some plays that you otherwise would have got outs with in high school. So this is why arm strength is really at a premium. If you're going to play third base or play shortstop or play the outfield in college, you've got to have a really strong arm to make those long throws with faster runners, to make the plays that are tougher with, again, faster runners down the baseline. So the game speeds up at every level, and you know this, right? The game speeds up from youth to middle school to high school to college, and college even to pro softball. The game speeds up because players are so much bigger, stronger, and faster. And so lots of players, they have a hitting coach. They do lots of hitting work. They have a pitching coach. They do tons of pitching work, and they get ground balls in practice, and they do all that stuff, but their throwing routine is kind of an afterthought. They just play catch, but they don't really spend a ton of dedicated time on their throwing. So if your throwing mechanics aren't great, if your throwing velocity is average for the amateur level, it's only going to start to hurt you as you start climbing up the levels. So arm strength allows you to play different positions. It allows you to be sort of future-proofed where, okay, I have a cannon in high school, therefore when I go to college, I'm still going to be able to make those tough plays in the hole because I got the arm strength to make that backhand and boom, still get a fast runner at first base. So I'd say this year, if you really want to make yourself really recruitable, and coaches notice this stuff, when you hose a girl from the outfield who's trying to take an extra base, and you hose her at third base, or you're a catcher and you boom, throw a bullet down to second, that makes an impact when someone's watching. So arm strength is a really marketable tool. We talked about versatility and also about individual position playing in my previous tip, but arm strength opens up a lot of doors for you to play a lot of different positions, and it's an impressive skill to show off when college scouts are watching. So I'd really focus on your arm strength this year if you're trying to make yourself more recruitable. And obviously my YouTube channel here has tons of videos, so be sure to stay here, check out a lot of those videos, and work on your game. All right, so hopefully this video is helpful. Tons of college recruiting tips for softball players. It's a tough process. It's filled with anxiety. It's filled with uncertainty. It's never clear exactly what you're supposed to do. But hopefully today helped you a little bit. Let me know in the comments below what you might need help with. Are you confused about where to find a college coach's email address? Are you confused about what positions you should be playing? Leave a comment below, tell me about your recruiting process, and I promise you I'll respond and help you out. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.